Proto-oncogene, it's a gene that codes for a protein that helps normal cell division. So if you have a mutated proto-oncogenes, what's going to happen is that the signal that says that tells the cell go ahead and divide, it's always going to be turned on, and that means the cell is always going to be thinking, oh, there's a need for me to divide, so I'm going to continue dividing. A tumor suppressor gene, on the other hand, codes for a protein that tells the cell to stop. To stop because there's the DNA damage, so we need to fix it, or stop because we need to ensure that the chromosomes are properly replicated. So if there is a mutation in a tumor suppressor gene, then the cell can no longer pause, and eventually that's going to lead to cancer. So when you think about the function of the proto-oncogenes and the tumor suppressor genes, think about the red light and the green light in a traffic light. So the proto-oncogenes normally tell the cell to go ahead and continue to the next phase. And whenever it's mutated, it is called an oncogene. A tumor suppressor gene, on the other hand, tells the cell to stop because there's DNA damage, so it needs to be repaired, or stop because we need to ensure that the chromosomes are properly being replicated. And if those proteins are mutated, then the cell can no longer have this pause. And some examples of the tumor suppressor genes are the BRCA genes. So BRCA1 and BRCA2 are tumor suppressor genes. So this is an image that shows you the progression of a tumor. So if there's some mutations in the BRCA genes, then that means the cell can no longer pause to fix that mutation. Can no longer pause to ensure that the chromosomes are replicated correctly. And what's going to happen is that they're going to lead to the accumulation of even more mutations. And essentially what's going to happen is that you're going to have an accumulation of all these cells that are growing on top of each other because they no longer respond to contact inhibition, and that's going to lead to the tumor. Now, what's going to happen, a lot of times what happens is that those cells that were on the original side, what's going to happen is they're going to travel through veins, and they're going to travel to other parts of the body. That specific process is what we call metastasis. And whenever cancer has metastasized, to be honest with you, there's very little that they can do. So the important thing for us to do is that if we ever notice that we have a bump where it was not there before, we should definitely just go to see a doctor. So an oncology is the study of cancer. An oncologist is a medical professional that specializes in cancer. So the patient's prognosis or the probable outcome depends on several things. The first one is whether the tumor has invaded surrounding tissues, and the second thing is whether the tumor has metastasized to other parts of the body. There are different types of cancer, so tumors are classified according to their place of origin. For example, carcinomas are cancers of the epithelial tissues, such as, for example, the skin, breast, liver, pancreas, intestine, lung, prostate, and thyroid. Sarcomas are rising muscles and connective tissues, that is, for example, the bone and fibrous connective tissue. Other examples of cancers are leukemias, which are basically cancers of the blood, lymphomas, which are cancers of the lymphoid tissues, or blastomas, which are cancer composed of immature cells. All of these are examples of cancers. So a benign tumor is a non-cancerous tumor because it hasn't metastasized. A malignant tumor is a cancer of cells that has spread to other parts of the body. Metastasis is the spread of cancer cells from the neural side to other parts of the body. So here I have an image of a breast tissue. So on the right side, what we have is just a normal breast tissue. On the left side, what we have is a breast tissue with a tumor. One important thing to notice is that the site of the tumor, you actually have an increase in the amount of veins. And the reason for that is because the cells require energy, require nutrients, require oxygen in order to divide. And so what happens is that the cancer cells, they releases chemicals in order to promote vascularization, which means that an increase of veins. Now, depending on the type of cancer you have and the location is going to determine the course of action by your doctor. So chemotherapy is basically using different chemicals that are toxic to cells in order to get rid of those cancer cells. Radiation therapy is basically using ionization radiation in order to target rapid dividing cells. Target therapy basically tries to look for specific proteins, specific markers that are only found in cancerous cells in order to get rid of those harmful cells. And then the last thing that we have is basically using our own immune system in order to target cancerous cells, minimizing the risk of damaging just normal cells. So, what are some of the things that we can do in order to reduce the risk of getting cancer? So, the first thing that we all can do is basically to make better, healthy choices. So, for example, do not smoke or chew tobacco, eat healthy, and basically maintain a healthy weight, get vaccinated, avoid harmful environments, screen regularly for any type of cancer, and then get tested for hereditary cancer as well. So all of those are things that we all can do in order to reduce the risk of getting cancer. In my opinion, one of the most important things that we all can do is basically to have a healthy diet and also basically to exercise. And by doing so, it's going to help us to reduce the risk of getting cancer, and not only cancer but also other diseases.